Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking a break from your inauguration events or whatever other activities you're doing today to join us for the debut of CASA-NYC's third cohort of Youth Leadership Council members. Many of you have joined us before for other YLC events, but for a little background, the YLC was established in 2017. So this is our third cohort. They are composed of a group of current and former foster youth. And YLC members speak out about their experiences in and aging out of foster care in order to advocate for improvements in the child welfare system, to reflect a positive image of youth in and aging out of foster care, and to serve as role models and mentors for younger children and youth who are in the foster care system. In their first 2 years before pre-pandemic, YLC members reach hundreds of child welfare professionals, family court judges and staff, youth in foster care, and other stakeholders. And of course, they participated in the training of all of our volunteers. So they're having an impact across the child welfare system in New York City, and especially on our organization. They're an incredibly important part of our CASA team. YLC members and alumni sit on our strategic planning committee and our racial equity committee and our hiring committees, and they contribute and advise us in so many ways that have really truly changed the culture of our organization at CASA, and we're so grateful for that. And we're so grateful to them for sticking with it. It's been a really tough, challenging year for everybody, and many of our YLC members more than many other people. But this group of young people has continued to meet weekly with us on Zoom. Not the same as meeting in person. We don't get to feed them every Tuesday night. They don't get to see each other in person, and we all miss seeing each other in person quite a bit. But we have met every week. They have completed their 30+ hours of training in advocacy and public speaking and all sorts of, having a lot of intense conversations about the events of the past year. So tonight, we are really thrilled to introduce you to 3 of our members, 2 of whom are new. This is their first year with YLC, and one, Jeanette, who is in her second year with the YLC. And we have a couple of other members joining us just in the audience today, who may perhaps chime in during the question and answer session. I also want to introduce many of you, if you haven't met him yet, to Hasan Williams, who's our youth coordinator, who joined us last spring, and he's worked incredibly hard to bring the YLC to the next level in order to advocate even better than before for system change. And you will experience the incredible energy that Has brings to this group. And I'm going to turn it over to Has to introduce you to the YLC members. Has, you're on mute.
Is that better? Can you hear me now? All right, thank you. Thank you, Carrie, for the introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, thanks for coming out. I hope you all are feeling well and you're in good spirits, as I would like to welcome you to the debut of our third cohort of CASA-NYC's Youth Leadership Council, which you just heard so much about. Our theme tonight is, what are the odds? We all can relate when I say we had an eventful 2020, and 2021 has been off to a booming start. Specifically, a pandemic rocked the world into a standstill. Under such circumstance, racial injustice as a root cause in the ever-widening wealth gap were magnified to expose the harsh realities America has yet to atone for, specifically those of its Black and brown children. It has been a commitment of CASA and the YLC to bring the presence of this racial oppression to the forefront of our advocacy. And this year we have increased that focus. Tonight, we will do this by looking through a critical lens that shows the overrepresentation of Black families and child welfare systems in America as a reflection of inherited circumstance and continued marginalization, rather than the people who refuse to elevate. So, that being said, I would like to introduce you first to Isaiah, an 18-year-old leader with our YLC, who has joined us just this year. And if you ask me, he's one of the most determined and ambitious youth I've ever met. Isaiah?
Yeah, what are the odds that I will be a successful record label owner?
Isaiah, good question. What are the odds that you will be a successful record label owner? These are some of the odds that are out there that relate to you, especially when Black and brown men make up for nearly 60% of the incarcerated population in America, while only making up for 32% of the general population. A quarter of youth in group homes will become involved in a criminal justice system within 2 years of aging out. And youth in group homes are 2.5 times more likely to be involved in the justice system than those placed in family foster care. Last not so fun fact is 90% of those or more 90% of those with more than 5 foster care placements will be involved in the justice system. And also, you should know Black and brown women are twice as likely to be incarcerated as opposed to other races in America. Isaiah, would you mind sharing with us how this not so fun fact impacted your life?
Of course not. I got taken away from my mother at the age of 3 years old due to her being incarcerated. She was arrested. And from 3 years old, I've been in the system ever since. I'm currently still in the system.
What's some of the placements you've been in since you've been in the system?
I've been in RTFs,
What
RTCs,
that stand for?
residential treatment facilities and residential treatment centers. I've been in 21-day programs, which is basically a holding place where they evaluate you and let you know if you need to be a higher or lower level of care. I've been in foster homes and independent living group homes, like I'm in right now. Um, you
You
know,
mentioned the 21-day program and like being moved around a lot. Can you tell me a bit more about that? And you said something about evaluation of how they evaluate you for a level of care.
yeah, I had gotten evaluated for a level of care, and once I had got actually wrongly evaluated for the level of care, I got sent to children's I got sent to a RTC, which is a residential treatment center. Um, I didn't get a reevaluation, and I got sent there, and it, I wasn't really. If I would have gotten a evaluation, I would have um I would never have got stabbed.
So is
I
the
didn't
RT,
need that higher level of care. I belonged in a lower level of care.
thanks for clarifying that for us.
Um,
Um, so where are you now? Like, all right, so that sounds crazy, and you're already brave, strong, and resilient to have made it to where you are now. The question I have for you is, where are you now, and like, what's it looking like for you as a result of this? And it's I can only imagine.
I mean, I'm trying. Like I can only do what I can. I always say, my life is I can only do so much. I can only do so much right now. I'm only 18. Um, I'm trying. I'm trying the best I can, but it's not. There's not a lot of things I can do myself. Everything is pretty much. I don't really feel like my life is really in my hands. A lot of circumstances haven't really been my choice. Even led up to even me being stabbed. It wasn't really my choice. I got sent a group home where it was a danger. So um,
Powerful statements, absolutely powerful statements. All right, so you said you don't feel like you're in control. As far as like school, work, your plan for life, like where are you as far as the controls of that?
um, like as far as school, like when I had gotten stabbed, I was moved. I was like I was in a lot of unsafe environments, and due to that, I was out of out of program a lot, so I wasn't really in school then. And, even now, like even transitioning from me being AWOL for so long and AWOL means like out of program, I wasn't really where I was supposed to be, but that was due to safety. And they was really funny because due to it was very like about the specifics about how I wasn't there. They couldn't really help me. And it was funny about that. So I had to do a lot of stuff on my own And again, this is why I said that my life is not really in my own hands, because I can't really go to a school and just sign myself in. You know what I mean? So education was, it was hindering me. So and even me, from me being there to me now being in this independent living group home that I'm in now, um, a lot of things, even transferring stuff, everything. I've been in this independent group home for like 2 months, and still like there, it's still a process of me getting into school and me getting the education, and
So
even when
just to be clear, you're not in school right now,
yeah, currently no, I'm not in school still.
and you've been in that placement for 2 months now.
Correct.
Got you. Maybe that's why some of these statistics stay what they say. So that being said, like I said, you're one of the most ambitious and determined kids I've ever met. How do you find peace in the midst of this chaos? Like, where do you find your solace, and how do you hold so tight to your dream?
Honestly, like that's pieces in my music. Music is my piece. Honestly, like through all this chaos in my life, the only way I feel like I could like outlet to express my feeling and my pain is through my music. Honestly, because like through all I've been through, like I would be an animal in the streets, but instead I take my pain and I try to put it in my pen.
Mm, like that.
So you tell me, what are the odds?
I don't know. I know it's a lot of statistics that show that the odds are stacked against you. And I know that you out here doing everything in your power to defeat those odds. So I want to thank you for sharing with us. I want to thank you for your presence, and I want to thank you for your continued fight. Everyone, next, I'll be having to take a breath. Sorry, guys. Next, I would like you all to get to know and hear a message from another wonderful leader with our YLC who's 22 years old. She's one of the greatest parents I've ever met. And she's been with our YLC for 2 cohorts now. That means 2 years, and has done great work and advocacy, especially in the past year, on behalf of youth in care and specifically CASA's YLC. With no further ado, I introduce you to Jeanette. Jeanette.
Sorry. Hey, everybody. Hey, Haas. So what are the odds that I'll be named Parent of the Year?
Another great question. I'll tell you, these odds, though, half of the children born to mothers in foster care will also enter the child welfare system by their 2nd birthday, according to a study done by Pediatrics in 2018. So the question I have for you is, with these odds, as a mother and young leader, how does this show up for you?
I'm sorry. One more time. My bad. It was stuff going on. Sorry.
It's cool. As a mother and a young leader, how do these statistics that half of children who are born to mothers in foster care will also enter into the child welfare system by their 2nd birthday? How do those odds stack up against the odds of you being named Parent of the Year?
Well, that's a really, really good question, Haas. The way that those odds stack against me being looked at as Mother of the Year is that a lot of people feel like us young parents aren't capable of taking care of our kids. A lot of people feel like, especially when you're in the foster care system, because a lot of us either have, whether it be mental health issues or maybe we have drug issues, maybe we smoke weed from time to time, certain issues that we face, and they judge us for our past as opposed to giving us a chance to be able to prove that we're good parents. A lot of the times, the system doesn't really have faith in us, and we become a target. Like, they look at us extra hard because we were in the system when we have kids in the system, even though our kids are technically not in the system. Even like my kids were never in the system. I was in the system and I gave birth to them, but they weren't in the system. But I was still a target because I was in the system and I had previous history. They had me go to a lot of court hearings. They had me do a lot of like psychiatric appointments, making sure that I was capable and more than enough competent to be able to take care of my kids. Like, it's a lot of stuff that comes into play.
I got a question.
Yeah.
And sorry to cut you off. No, finish your thought. I just wanted to let you know I had a question.
Yeah. No, I was saying that there's a lot of things that come into play when you become a parent while being in the system.
Absolutely. And I hear that the hardest, one of the things I hear you keep mentioning is that they utilize your past against you. Could you give us, if you don't mind sharing, a little bit about that past and how they're utilizing it against you as a mother?
Yes, definitely.
Is this like your past as a mother?
Yeah, no. So basically, I got into foster care at the age of 14. So I was in foster care from 14 to 21. And it was a lot of abuse and neglect in the home that I was dealing with. Basically, my mom died from AIDS and my dad killed himself with a drug overdose. So I was with my dad's side of the family for majority of my life since I was a baby till 14 years old. I had a real big misperception of what foster care was. And I kind of thought like, if I reached out for help, I was going to get out of the bad situation that I was in. And I thought that I was going to like get a mom and a dad and a family. Like I thought different of things, if that makes sense to you. Like I thought it was a piece of cake, like when you see the commercials, become a foster parent, help these kids out and stuff like that. They make things look so perfect that I thought that was going to be my saving grace. So I got into the foster care system. I bounced around a lot. I never got adopted. I never got a stable home. Like Isaiah, I too was in residential treatment centers. Those are like huge campuses where we have cottages on the campus and we eat, sleep, dorm there, go to school there. Everything is on the campus. It's a high security, it's a high level of a treatment facility, should I say, is usually for kids that AWOL a lot, kids that are having problems and issues and things like that. So they send them there because usually we wouldn't last in a group home because we would just leave. It becomes too problematic all the time. So at the age of 17, I became a mom. I had just got out of a facility, and a couple months later I had got pregnant with my first son, and my foster mom had kicked me out because she said that it was just too much for her and she wasn't going to deal with a kid having a kid. So I bounced a lot around, had to be able a couple times also while being pregnant because I had to figure out where I was going to go, what's going to go on. Like it was a lot of stuff. When I had my first son, I had about like,
hold on, give me 1 sec, because you made a statement there and I kind of want to clear that up. You say you were in care and AWOL while pregnant because you were kicked out by your foster mom?
Yeah.
So is that like being in care and being made homeless by your foster parent?
Basically, because like your foster, whether if it's a guy or female, they have the right to say if they don't want you to be in a home. They could put in a 10-day notice, but they could tell you to get out. Like nobody's gonna come and really see if you in the house. Like I had a lot of times where I was locked out and stuff like that. Like, and I would call and complain, but they gotta try to find you a respite. A respite is like a temporary foster home that you can go stay at maybe for 24 hours or for a week or till they figure out where you can be another placement, because a lot of times there's not availability with foster parents either. So that's a big problem as well. So it's like, where you gonna go? So you kind of be in limbo a lot of times when you have issues with the foster parent.
Got it. Yeah.
But so yeah, I was just gonna say, majority of the problem that I had being a mom and for coming out of foster care was I had got a lot of like ACS cases, and I never got my kids taken away, thank God. But I always had to give them a drug test. I always had to do psych evaluation. I always had to, because they were bringing up things from when I was a child, issues that I had, diagnosis that I had gotten from years ago. And I just feel like that's not right. Like I got harassed a lot because I was in the system, as opposed for them looking at it as she was battered and abused. She didn't ask to go in the system. She was a victim, but she's a good mom, like they would come, they would see there's always food. My kids were always good. There was no bruises. There was any, but it was a sign of harassment. They come strip my kids, get them naked. Like, you know, like it was a lot for me. I'm 17. I never knew, you get what I'm saying? Like I never knew stuff like it happened to me, but I never knew that that would happen to my kid. So I felt so bad and I felt so targeted and so hurt because why do I have to keep proving myself? Why do I have to keep fighting for my own kids? So it's real hard being a parent in the system because like nobody believes in you. Nobody believes that you can take care of your kids and that you can put them first. They always expect a 40-year-old to be a mom or 30-something-year-old to be a parent. But it's like, let me ask you guys a question. Can you ever be prepared to be a parent? That's just how I look at it. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can never be ready to be a parent. You just have to go with the flow and buckle down and kind of like learn as you go. Like it's not easy for anybody.
That's a good point. You said you got to go with the flow, buckle down, and I just want to highlight some. I want to give you your props because we often don't get our roses when they do. So like you said, your children have never been in the system.
No.
Um, and that even though you've had cases called against you, you've always met assessments with flying colors. So a question I have for you is like, just as a youth who was in care, what is a value or a few values that made you the person that you are, that like, that you focused on the things you're focused on. And then I'll ask you another question about that specifically, about what you focus on.
Basically, like I always told myself, like I was always kind of like mature for my age. Like that's just the kind of personality I've always had. And I always told myself that if I could get out and if I could be my own person and live my own life, and if I could start my own family, I would never want my kids to experience being lonely, being hungry, sleeping on the train, asking yourself why nobody love you, why you alone. You get what I'm saying? Like I would never want my kids to experience that because I feel like now that I'm a mom, I feel like you never give up on your kids. I feel like you, no matter how hard things get, and no matter you could raise them right and they could still do wrong, but you still be there. You still love them. You still try to show them the right way and still guide them. And that always like seeing my kids and having somebody to look up to me and somebody need me made me be strong and made me realize I have to be mature and I have to do what I have to do. And it's hard because I be wanting to be like, forget this. Like I want to go out and hang out and I want to do what I want to do, but I can't. I can't just get up and be like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to live my life. I have to think about my kids. I have to make sure they're okay and their needs are met. So like, it's not easy, but it's a way of life. And I feel like it either make you or break you. And in my case, thank God is made me even stronger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You have one more question, you said?
Yeah, my last question was gonna be about outside of like, your spirit, outside of the things that you focused on from, within yourself. If you could name 3 things that outside of you keep you stable. Like for me, I exercise, I read, and I make sure I got people in my corner that got my back. Like what are those 3 things for you? You can name more if you want, but like what are 3 things outside of you that keep you, beating the odds?
I would say, well, like my hobbies, like things that I do.
No, like 3 things that contribute to you defeating the odds. Like if you were to give advice to a young parent that's like, yo, I don't know if my kids are gonna get taken away, or I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, keep my place, or I don't know if I'm gonna be able to always have money in my pocket. Like what keeps you surviving and stable enough to be parent of the year?
Well, that's a good question. What I never thought about that.
Well, I'll lead off by saying you're ambitious. You always are working. So
Yeah,
that's
I
one.
say I feel like it's the struggle. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's the struggle. I feel like the more you struggle, the more you want it. Like you just want it that much more. Like, and I feel like I'm a firm believer in manifesting in things. And even though sometimes I put myself down, like mm, like I started off young, I made it hard on myself because I put myself down a lot too. But I tell myself all the time, like, no, I'm gonna be this one day. Like we're gonna have everything we want to have and so much more. And I even tell my kids that. Like my kids look at houses and stuff like that. They're like, oh mommy, that's a nice house. I'm like, one day we're gonna have that house. Today we were watching the inauguration. I told my son, you're going to be that president. You're going to be that entrepreneur. You're going to be whatever it is that you want to be, whatever it is that you set your mind to, you can be. And as long as you stay positive and as long as you think about, I would tell any youth, I know it's easier said than done. I swear I know it is, because when it was me and somebody was trying to tell me this same knowledge, I didn't want to hear it. I'm like, well, you're not in my shoes right now, so you don't know what I'm going through. But the reality of it is, if you apply yourself and you don't let yourself get lost, you can defeat the odds and you can do what you have to do. You just have to set your mind to it, because the first 6 months of me having my own apartment, it wasn't easy. I'm still teaching myself how to food shop, stuff like that, money manage, pay my portion of my rent, different
Who
things
helps you
like
with
that.
that? That's what I was asking you.
Oh, basically, like I had
Like,
I'm not
how do you get all
I'm
that
not
skill?
gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Like I didn't have that much help from the system or the caseworkers or anything, but I did have one last foster parent that was really helpful. And I could ask her, like when it came to like changing diapers or breastfeeding or anything like of that, when it came to appointments, first fever stuff, I could call her for those things. And she would help me when I came to, hey, should I go to Costco to buy this or should I go to the supermarket? Like for those little things, she would help. But I really taught myself everything. Like I really taught myself everything, because a lot of times you don't know like how to go to certain appointments, how to speak to doctors, how to advocate for yourself, especially when it's new to you. It's new to me. Like my oldest is 5 years old, and every year is a new milestone. Every day, every week is a new thing that I'm learning. It's a new question that I never thought that I would be answering. Like I just be like, wow, I didn't expect my son to ask me that or my kid to ask me that. Like every day is a new milestone. You learn something new. But I just feel like the question, what are the odds that I'll be named parent of the year, it applies to so many youth, it applies to so many people, and it applied to me because a lot of people didn't think I could do it. A lot of people thought that within the first 6 months I was going to lose my kids and lose my whole housing and everything. And I am about to be 23 years old. I've had my apartment since I was 18 years old, never been evicted, never lost housing, never lost custody of my kids. So every day, every year that I strive that me and my kids grow old together, live together and be together is defeating the odds and showing people that we are able and more than capable of making it out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeanette. That was very inspiring. Touched on so much. Next, I want to go to our next message will be coming from Tamaine, who is 26 years old. Tamaine is also one of our newer members. However, he has extensive experience doing youth-led advocacy at various levels and with various organizations, from provider agencies to municipal and state governing offices. Tamaine?
What are the odds that I will own and operate my own nonprofit organization one day in my life?
What are the odds, Tamaine, especially with these not so fun facts? Only 1 out of every 2 foster kids who age out of the system will have some form of gainful employment by the age of 24. Fewer than 3% of youth who have aged out of foster care will earn a college degree at any point in their life. So, Tamaine, how will you defeat these odds?
Well, I will defeat these odds by, well, I think I would like to start with, where my whole journey begins. And my whole journey begins with me growing up in a foster care system. Just at 6 years old, I was, taken from my family and put in the foster care system. Shortly after that, I spent, 12 years in and out of the foster care system in RTC facilities. And RTC is a residential treatment center, as you guys already know. And, the best way I could describe my experience there was, it was filled with ups and downs and, some memorable moments that I would have, that I would say I had when I felt the most supported was when I first entered the foster care system. So when I first entered the foster care system, I was told, that my experiences within the system would vary, that I may have moments where I experience, some really great people who understand and are committed and that have my back. And, there were maybe moments where I experienced people who really just don't care. So sorry about that. My audio cut off. So with my, after my experience, in the foster care system, I spend most of my time advocating for others, advocating for change, and just being an agent of change, because I've experienced many moments where I didn't feel supported, and one of those moments that I didn't really feel supported was me aging out of foster care. I felt like I had to really fight for everything that I needed, everything that I wanted, and those things should have come naturally to a young person aging out of the foster care system. So, I began to look at, how could I beat the odds? How could I beat the odds personally? And, what I really figured out was that I could begin to beat the odds by, doing what I'm doing now. I'm aspiring to start my own organization. And I'm beating the odds now by, working with CASA. Having great people in my life like Haz, who personally mentored me and encouraged me to chase my dreams. Honestly, just working with ACS, Brother James is on the call, Tanasia is on the call. Just working with them and getting an inside outlook of what it means to advocate for other people. What does it mean to operate an organization? What does it mean to, sit on a panel, and share my experiences? And, what does it mean to, to dream bigger than I've ever dreamed before? So to answer that question, what are the odds? I would say the odds are very slim that I would achieve my goals of being successful, of operating my own organization. But because of the great people that I've experienced along my journey, although I've had ups and downs, I am still going to beat those odds.
Absolutely, Tamaine. Thank you for that share back. For now, what I want to do is I want to open up the floor for questions. You guys can drop questions in the chat, and we'll pick questions out of the chat to ask the YLC members if there's anything you've heard that you'd like to hear more about. If there's any information and or specific topics that impacted you, feel free to share, and we will open up with the panelists here. So if you have a specific question for a specific member, just say for that member and ask the question. Okay, absolutely. We got a question for Tamaine. Uh, can you tell us a bit about your organization, like what it will be doing, what problems it seeks to solve, and those kinds of things?
Sure. So to answer that question, I would say, what my organization is going to be doing is, honestly, I would say, hold on one second, let me just get some light going. So I would say my organization is going to be, really working with those that have been directly affected by the foster care system. Um, Specifically targeting those that have aged out of care, uh, those that are currently in the foster care system, those that, maybe had good experiences and maybe that didn't have good experiences. I wanna look at it from a broad but a not so broad approach. Um, I think that it's good to get feedback from, people who have had many different experiences with the foster care system, so that I would be able to directly tailor how to support that young person that is aging out of care, or how to support that young person that has been out of care for 5 years, 6 years, like in my case. How to support also, a young person that is dealing with a serious medical condition like me. I'm someone that's dealing with a serious medical condition, and that severely impacted my odds of being successful. And so that, those are just some of the things that I would do with my organization, and how I would go about um, gathering data, synthesizing data, and just really putting my best foot forward, and working together with the textbook professionals, as well as those that are professionals of their own lives.
Thank you so much.
Can I answer a question, Haas? Oh, sorry.
I was gonna go on to that next question. And that was for each of the panelists. What will your life be like in 10 years? And since we have a volunteer, which will begin with Jeanette, then we're gonna go to Isaiah, and finally we will hear from Tamaine. Jeanette, let's open up.
Okay, sorry. I'll be on it. What my life will be like in 10 years. My kids gonna be grown, y'all. They gonna be big. They ain't gonna be little, fighting, beating each other up no more. No, on a serious note, though, I see myself being an entrepreneur, like a full-blown entrepreneur, owning my own business, and also giving back to the community. I want to really give back. I want to give back to so much. Like, I want to give back to youth and care. I want to give back to a lot of nonprofit organizations, especially CASA. I want to give back to those who are still suffering and still going through things. And I also want to give back to a lot of organizations that I'm passionate about. Like, my mom died from AIDS, and I'm really passionate on like the AIDS walk, and staying safe and reaching and giving a lot of awareness to a lot of people, because there's a lot of people who suffer from HIV and AIDS, and they don't have like the proper medication, and it hit close to home. So it's a lot of different organizations that I'm really passionate about, and I want to give back to the community. It's always good to give back to your community and remember your roots and where you came from. So in 10 years from now, I see myself being an entrepreneur and definitely giving back to my community.
All right, we got some great questions coming in, so let's get to Isaiah. What is your life gonna look like in 10 years?
Um, well, I guess I'll start off like Jeanette. I didn't mention this because I'm not, sadly, I'm due to my situation, I'm not so proud of it. Me being 18, but I also have a kid on the way. My kid will be 10 in 10 years because my kid is not born. My baby mother's pregnant, currently pregnant right now. Um, in 10 years, hopefully I'm successful, because I wouldn't want my kid going through anything I went through, or having any life that, I wouldn't I already lived the worst. I wouldn't want my kid living any way like I live. So I'm hoping in 10 years I'm where I need to be.
That's cool. Your answer actually makes me want to bring up another question from the chat. But I want to give Tamaine the chance to answer this question. Okay, so the other question that I was going to bring up from the chat.
Yeah, what's the question? I'm sorry about that, Oz.
The question is, what will your life look like in 10 years from now?
That's a really great question. To answer that question, I would say in 10 years, I can say, you know, without a doubt that I will be a change maker. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't know if it means that I will be working with, you know, private organizations or, you know, continuing my work with nonprofit organizations to, you know, work on strategies and, you know, ideas that will help young people. But I know I'm passionate. I'm determined. I know that, you know, I have a really big heart, and you know, in 10 years, I know for sure I'll still be giving back. I'll still be doing whatever it takes to make the lives of others better.
Gratitude. The next question I want to ask you guys is, if there's one thing that will help any or all youth in care, what would it be? And I actually sampled this from another question, but like, if you could pass one thing to the audience, be it a youth in care or a staff. So give me one thing that you would pass to a youth that could help them the most in their life, that would support their independence or their individual goals, and then one thing to pass to our community and stakeholders in the room. So let's begin with Isaiah for this one. If there's one thing that would help any or all foster youth, it would support in their independence or individual goals, what would it be? One for youth and one for adults.
I mean, everybody has their own situation. You know, I can't really say that there's any one thing that can help anybody really. So
From your perspective, just from your shoes.
Just me personally, I could say one thing that can help me. You know, I would say some going to college. Really, to be honest, I need an education. Knowledge is power. Really, to be honest.
Okay, education. And to the adults, how would they support you in that?
You know, I mean, how old? I mean, I'm trying to. I don't know this.
You want us to come back to you?
Yeah,
that's a go. I'm gonna go to Tamaine next. What would you say to youth as one thing that could support them in their independence, or, you know, the independence, and what is one thing that adults should be aware of to support youth in their independence and adulthood? You're mute if you're talking. Tamaine? All right, Jeanette? We seem to be having some
I'm here.
Oh, we got some technical difficulties. We
yeah,
here?
Sorry about that. I'm here. My phone is acting up today. So for young people, I would say one thing that that would really support their independence is to honestly never under any circumstances, you know, block or dim their light, dim their voices, and to never make them feel like their dreams and goals and aspirations are way too out there. Because that's one thing that I see that has, and really in an odd way, has affected even some of my friends in their ability to be independent, because they had these really grand ideas of, you know, becoming a doctor, or, you know, owning their own record label, or, you know, I don't know, starting their own company. And they were essentially, you know, I hate to say it like this, but like beat into submission to, you know, conform to what other people believe they should be doing for their age, for their gender, for, you know, their social economical bracket, or where they would fit. And I just don't think it's fair to lock people into these, you know, these social norms or these conditions. So if we want to help young people to be independent, I would say, you know, just allow them to dream, encourage that spark, encourage that dream, you know, like the amazing people at CASA do, or like the amazing people at ACS do, and so many other uh, organizations that work with young people. So that would be something I would want um, both the adults to know, and both the youth. Never allow somebody to dim your light. Never allow somebody to tell you that your dream or your goal is not attainable, because it is at that point that you allow that person to control who you are, your visions, your your trajectory.
Super, super good. Let's go over to Jeanette with the same question.
So basically, one bit of advice I could give like a youth going through the system at this time is don't give up. Just don't give up, because a lot of times it feels like this the only thing left to do is to give up. Like that feels like that's the only option we have. And I just feel like we need to believe in ourselves more and learn how to advocate, learn how to be aware of your surroundings. Use this as a learning experience. Don't use it as, oh, they want me to come to court, it's annoying. No, think of it as, I should go to this permanency hearing so I can speak up for myself, so that I can know what's going on with my situation, so that they can't send me to another foster home when I don't want to go. Because a lot of the times we're misinformed, we're misguided, and they don't tell us, oh, you should go to this court hearing because it's going to benefit you. You can speak up for yourself. You can advocate for things that you need. A lot of times these agencies will say that they've done things that they didn't do for us. And we don't know that they're lying. We don't know that they're misinforming the judge because we're not there. We don't go. So learn how to stand up for yourself. Be smart. Make good decisions, because every decision that you make is in the best interest of what's going to happen for you. Also, when it comes to aging out, make sure you ask questions about all these housing. A lot of times they will point you into the direction of getting housing that may not be the best option for you. It might not be the best program, might not be the best organization, might be a short-term housing that's going to leave you homeless after 3 years by the time you're 25. Like, it's a lot of things that I had to learn with advocating. There's a lot of things that I had to learn with asking questions and just like educating myself for my benefit, for my own benefit. Because if you don't have that education, if you don't have the knowledge and understand the jargon, you will get lost in the system. You will get lost and you will not understand how to move and how to progress. And one thing that I can say, and that was just my advice that I would give to any youth, just, be attentive, be smart, advocate, and don't give up. Don't be afraid to speak up. No question is a stupid question. I had to learn that myself. You know how you always be like, oh, maybe that's a stupid question. No, if you don't ask, you won't know. So that's one thing I think all youth should know, because I know a lot of youth are scared to ask questions. No question is a stupid question. Always be confident and ask what you feel you need to know. Advice, is, or a volunteer, is be patient, communicate. That's one of the most important things. Have open communication with the youth and have a lot of patience. A lot of times we are damaged and broken youth and we don't know how to express ourselves. We don't know how to speak, and we don't know how to vent. We don't know how to trust people. We don't know how to let people help us. We're so used to being put down or moved from place to place. We don't know how to trust people. We're tired of explaining our story over and over again. Like, it's hard. It's not easy being a broken youth in the system and not having any family and not having somebody to care for you. So a lot of times it's scary to have a volunteer really care and not do it for the money and not say, oh, I'm gonna get paid anyway. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's very hard. So just always communicate and don't give up.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. And I want to take this in a new direction. I want to spice it up. I feel like, you know, like these guys are hearing so much about you and, you know, your lives and whatnot. We got a really interesting question in the chat. So we happen to have a journalist in the audience, Mr. Michael, and he wants to ask, what questions or proposals would you have for the candidates about child welfare or foster care, as we have an election for the mayor of New York City coming up this year? He's a journalist and plans to ask the candidates about your concerns about child welfare. And he wants to hear back from youth, you know, what are some of the proposals or concerns that you have to propose to a potential mayoral candidate, or if you were talking to, you know, city legislation. Let's begin this one with Isaiah. Isaiah, what questions or proposals would you have for the mayor of New York City?
Well, I am a victim of a very wrongdoings in the system. I'm a product of wrongdoings in the system. So that is a perfect question for me. How you can ask I have multiple questions you can ask. One being following up on one. Oh, I'm excited about this question because oh yeah, Kerry had to take a step back real quick. She had to sit in her seat. She knows. I guess. So listen, I got you. I'm gonna keep it politically correct, Kerry. I got you. We talked about this. I got you. Listen, staff in the system don't care. They don't care if things go on. It's just the staffing, just people that the people you're around, the people that are supposed to be there with you in these places with you. They don't. It's ridiculous, and people have no control. It's not like you can control that, right? You say you can't control that. You know, people have these meetings. You know, you sit with the boss, and you know, you sit down, and people, they don't do that. They just hire anybody. Like the last group home I was in, it was so real. It was so real. You had the staff piecing the kids up gangs, and it was crazy. It was crazy. But this is the stuff. This is the type of stuff that goes on in these types of group homes. Feel me? It's a lot of funny stuff. Feel me?
We definitely feel you.
Actually, you know, when I had gotten stabbed, the reason why I was AWOL was because somehow miraculously they knew I was in the ACS building. Coincidence? Maybe the staff told them.
Mm-hmm.
But
so what question, if you had to speak to the mayor, what question or what would you propose to him specifically?
Okay, what I would propose is okay, how could we my question,
ensure confidentiality?
a little bit more than confidentiality. How can we choose the right people to be staff members in these places? Like it goes deeper into that. Like what can we do? Like further than background checks. How about how about trials? How about like just like they do trials and how we get trials when we leave and you leave group homes? How about they get trials? How about you test them, see if they're actually, doing their job correctly, because people don't care about that. Another thing I would do another question I would propose is about reevaluations, making sure that the people that are in these, places are actually supposed to be where they're at, make sure that the children and youth, or whoever's in the system, is placed where they need to be placed, not in a level of care too high to where, they end up coming in there with a certain amount of issues and end up leaving with 1,000 other issues, because that's how it was for me. That's how it was for me. I ended up in the system. I was in the system at the age of 3 years old, innocent. I was a child. And I've been in the system ever since I grew up in the system. But it's like, from each place I've went into, I've came out worse. And I'm literally a product of the system, stabbed up and everything because of the system since 3 years old. So I just say, like, make sure when you do these evaluations, and you're sitting down with these children, and make sure you're evaluating them the right way, because some people don't need to be where they're at, and they ended up going there, and it's not a benefit. We end up just becoming another statistic.
Absolutely. Wow. Powerful share. Thank you. Thank you again, Isaiah. Let's take the next answer from Jeanette. What questions or policy recommendations would you have the mayor?
Okay, I got a lot of questions, but I guess, like, what are we gonna do? Okay, so, like, I helped advocate a lot on a moratorium on aging out of foster care, especially during the pandemic, because it was like huge situation that we were going through. So I want to know what we're gonna do long term. I don't want this to just be during the pandemic. I want to know, what are we going to do long term to help these youth, to make sure that these youth are not aging out to homelessness? What are we going to do to make sure that, like, who's going to implement those rules? Like, what are we going to do? Also, we need some more money. What are we going to do about that? We need more funding for these agencies so that these youth could have a more allowance. We need allowance so that, because sometimes a lot of foster homes, they don't have washing machine. I gotta wash clothes. I don't have money. I need more funds so I can be able to take care of myself. A lot of times it's not enough. The foster parent tells the youth, like, oh, well, I don't have enough to give you this for you can take care of yourself. You can do that. Like, no, there's a lot of stuff we need. We need MetroCard money. We need money to go to school. We need stuff like that. Like, but the biggest thing that I would have to ask is definitely about that moratorium on aging out of care, because I feel like that's a huge issue. A lot of the people I know have been homeless, have had to learn how to, especially, like, it's sad to say, if you don't have a kid, it's harder for you. If you're a single male or if you're a single female and you don't have any kids, it's really, really, really hard to get housing. And a lot of times these youth are homeless because they tried to get housing, but you be on the waiting list for 2.5, 3 years. Then what do you do? What do you do after that? So we need to come up with a way to prioritize who gets housing, prioritize, because especially there's a lot of men that are homeless because they have the hardest time getting housing. And then when they do get housing, it's something temporary that you can only live to you're 25, and then you got to figure it out after that. So I think that we need more housing programs, long-term programs for these youth, because we need a place to stay. That's serious, that we don't have anywhere to stay. If we wouldn't kick our own kids out, I don't think these foster kids, these youth, need to go to the street. So that's a concern that I have. I demand the answer for that. That's what I would ask.
Big on the allowance, because I grew up in the system not even knowing I get that. I didn't even know I got allowance. I was in foster care for the longest. I didn't even know that I got money. I had money that was mine. So yeah, that allowance thing, yeah.
Right. Let's hear from Tamaine. Tamaine, you got any questions or policy recommendations for the mayor?
Yes, I do. I do have one question I would like to ask the mayor. I mean, I have several, but I'll just give one that I thought was really important. So the dorm project. For those of you who know, the dorm project is it was created a couple of years ago to help foster a group of successful young people on their journey to college by providing housing and a stipend and a couple of resources that young people may not get going to college otherwise. What I would like to ask the mayor directly, if I could, is what are we doing to support young people who are a part of the dorm project right now, and when it comes to aging out of the dorm project itself, or graduating, or leaving the dorm project, because many of those young people had to go back to foster homes and group home settings, and some of them are still on a campus. And I know several young people who are graduating and or leaving the dorm project, and they don't know what comes next. So how can we continue to support young people in this particular program, and particularly related to housing?
Thank you so much, Tamaine. I got a really good question for our panelists. And my question for you is, and I'm gonna ask Jeanette to answer this one first, as she's been a member of our YLC for so long. My question to you, Jeanette, is, are you aware, or what do you feel? Do you have a sense of how YLC members have impacted or can impact CASA as an organization and the child welfare system in NYC? I hear you just mentioned the moratorium you worked on. I think that was very influential. Like, can you give us a bit more about like how being a member of YLC has been impactful to both the organization and the system?
Yes. So basically, being a member of the YLC has been such a great impact to everybody, because we are trauma informed. We know firsthand what it is to live through the system and what it is to go through the system. Some of us have been there since birth or since real young. Some of us have been there since teen or adolescent to adulthood. So we know all aspects of the system. We know the rundown. We know, what happens, what the system is really like. We also know what can help us. We know what can help other youth firsthand. Like, one of the ways I was able to contribute in advocating to the moratorium on aging out of foster care was being on the Good Morning America show. And I was able to speak to people and put my story out there so that people can get a real sense of what it's like to be in the system. Because a lot of times people have this misperception that we ask for it, or we want to just be in the system, that we're bad kids, we always in trouble, like we're misguided. They have all this whole big perception of the type of people we are and the reason why this thing is happening, when a lot of times we're just kids, like we're just kids who were abused and hurt, and we just want to be loved. We're just kids who want a home, just like any other average normal kid would want love and would want a home. And just hearing our stories can give people who've never been through it or have not heard about it or don't know so much, can give people that insight. You could sit back and think, wow, like I never knew that the system was that way. And it gives you a different perspective of things, and it lets you see inside to what's really going on, so that you can be able to make a difference and you could want to make a change and help. And I feel like it's a beautiful thing to want to educate the world on what the issues are, because the reality of it is people all over the world are going through this. Foster care all over the world is failing our children. There are children falling through the cracks all over the world. So it's not just here in New York, it's so many different other agencies. And like, Haas has been a great mentor to us, and he always connects us to other agencies, so we get to get out of our comfort zone. We get to spread awareness together. We get to talk to other people and just get our voice heard, and we get to get out there. And that's what's going to help the youth. That's what's going to make sure that we can change these things, because if we didn't stick together and we didn't advocate for this moratorium on aging out of foster care, we would have never got it. So it's us advocating and us sticking together and raising awareness and putting the truth out there that's helping these youth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Next, let's pass this one to Tamaine. So the question again is, how has the YLC impacted CASA, or how can they impact CASA and the child welfare system in NYC?
So I think the YLC has impacted CASA by, I would say, like, more awareness. Like, sometimes you don't get to hear and feel and directly connect to the stories of young people. So I wouldn't even say just CASA, but many of the nonprofit organizations working with foster youth, their youth leadership councils have been shedding light on some of the atrocities that have been committed within the foster care system and without outside of the foster care system. Also, not just shedding light, but also the YLC has been used to come up with solutions, to connect directly and create solutions with those that we're going to be helping directly. Before, many of the solutions were created just with people who may not have the experience, but many of the young people on the YLC get to sit in on that discussion and say, hey, look, that solution sounds great, but I think you need to tweak it here. And that just makes all the difference. So I would say the YLC overall has been very impactful overall to helping young people.
Okay, and Isaiah, thank you so much, Tamaine, for sharing with us. Isaiah, I want to ask you, how do you, as a dual member as well, feel that the YLC has impacted CASA, or how do you feel like we can impact CASA and the system? Just from your experience.
I mean, from my experience, I feel like, from my experience so far, I feel like for a very long time my voice hasn't been heard, and I feel like since I've joined the YLC, like I have a voice, and I've always had a lot to say. I've just never had anybody to tell it to, or a way to say it, or an outlet, or it's one thing to say something, but it's one thing to say something and actually let that thing be heard by somebody, and that thing to actually get done. So I'm just tired of telling people things, because I could say a lot of things that are key points, but what is it good to say it if it's not getting fixed?
Can you give us an anecdote of this? I'm dying to hear like a story from your perspective of like a time where you felt heard here at CASA. Especially because, like I said, you're one of our newer members. I'm one of the newer staff, so I want to hear how we impacted you.
I mean,
give me like a set story, like one time where you actually felt supported, like, cause that meant a lot, bro. Like that really meant a lot. So
all right. I could say just for one, all right. So my first week joining CASA, the Zoom class, it was I felt just supported just off the bat when it came off of just me sharing my story. Just the environment, or just me sharing my story. Everybody shared. It was a week where everybody just sharing. It was just the environment was genuine, and it was welcoming. And you know, me being in my life is very hostile. So just to have that genuine, you know, love it was pleasing.
That's major. We always here for you too. Um, that was powerful, man. How do you feel like you can be impactful though? Like what some of the changes you wanna see made? Like what some of the things you hope to accomplish as a YLC member? Like how you plan on impacting this organization or the whole system?
Well, like I said, me, I feel like you like if something is gonna be changed, it should be the whole system itself, because the whole system itself is corrupt. Well, I don't know if anybody was here during the last panel, but that was my main point. You can't just change one thing, and there's not just one thing in the system that's just messed up. The whole system itself is corrupt. It's gonna take some time and some work, and it's everything. It's everything. For me to specify. It's there's no point in specifying what exactly it is, because every aspect of the system is corrupt. So it's gonna be a lot of work, but hopefully, like, I sadly I can't even, honestly, the way things been going, I can't really. I could hope to have a positive outcome and outlook on things, but man, listen.
keep that fire, man. Keep that spirit. You're doing a great job already, man. So that was great and powerful. Thank you all for sharing about how YLC is being impactful and how we plan on being impactful. I have two more questions, and then I want to head for the closeout. So the first question I want to ask you guys is, did any of you have CASAs? And if so, what can you tell us, or what can you tell the audience to help advocates better serve youth?
Should I start, or you gonna?
Yeah, let's begin with Jeanette. So, like, did you have a CASA, and what would you tell advocates work and don't work when working with youth?
So yeah, I've had a CASA. I had one official CASA, and then like she now has a new job, and then I had like a temp, and now I think now we're official again. Now I think we have one official one again. But overall, everybody at CASA is my CASA. I'm not even gonna lie. I can call anybody. I can call Haas and say, yo, Haas, this and that. Or hey, Carrie, or hey, Elizabeth, anybody. I could call anybody at CASA, and everybody's willing to help and just willing to lend that lending hand. But my first official CASA, her name was Devin, and she was awesome. Like, I still to this day, we have a really good relationship, and we're still really close, even though like she has another job, but she's still a great mentor in my life, and she always was a great support system. Like, I could call and just talk to her and tell her, hey, the kids gave me a hard time today, can you just stay on the phone with me for a little bit? And she would be like, yeah, like, we could talk or whatever. Like, I could call her for anything. Like, she never gave up, even though in the beginning I was like, oh, I don't think I want a CASA because I'm done with the system. I don't want anything to do with them anymore. I'm about to age out. Like, I don't want to deal with someone being in my life, in my face anymore. But it wasn't like that. She wasn't here to be intrusive. She wasn't here to be like in my business. She was genuinely here to help and genuinely here to support and just be that perfect guidance. And she was there to like help me put my thinking cap on and just support me in whatever I wanted to do. If I told her, hey, Devin, I want to learn how to drive. Okay, so now let's find a way to teach you how to drive. I want to learn how to become an artist. Okay, now let's look for art schools. Like, she was one of those kind of people, like anything that I was interested in, anything I put my mind to, she would push me to do. She was never the type of person to say, I don't think you could do it, Jeanette. She was the type of person to say, you can do it and so much more. And I feel like CASA as an organization as a whole does that for me. I feel like everybody pushes me to be ambitious, and everybody pushes me to be me and to give myself more credit, because a lot of times, like I said earlier, a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough props for just even getting up and accomplishing what we've accomplished in a day, you know? And so I feel like we're all about empowering each other and keeping each other up and uplifting each other to be the best people possible that we can be. And you asked for an advice or no? Or you asked about the CASA? I can't hear you. I think you
Yeah,
muted.
I'm sorry. I was asking, like, yeah, what works and what doesn't work. And I think that
Oh,
you definitely highlighted some key points in
yeah.
there.
One thing that
What
works.
I got some, I already got some from you.
Oh,
What I'm
okay.
hearing, what I'm hearing is, being flexible, being, at the call, like you said, everybody at CASA is my CASA. I could call you no matter what. So being prepared for any situation is one thing I got from you. Another thing that I got from you, and you mentioned it earlier, and you've been saying it throughout, is patience, understanding, and appreciation. Like when you said, the value, like we not valued or told that that you can make it, and being uplifted. I think that those are some very key points. I actually so is it safe to say that those are good values that work for a CASA?
Yeah.
Uplifting,
Yeah.
support, and always being ready because life happens.
Yeah. And just one last thing, like don't give up. Like that's one of my biggest things, because a lot of times I might be depressed for a week and I might not answer my phone, but that doesn't mean that I don't need the support and I don't want the support. A lot of times that gets misinterpreted too, like, oh, well, that youth is being defiant. They're not answering. They're not talking. But maybe they're just having a tough day or a tough week, or maybe they're going through something personally. So just don't give up. Just always try to be that go-to person.
Absolutely. Has anyone else, Tamaine or Isaiah? Let's go to Isaiah. Uh, what do you say will work in the CASA, and what are some things that won't work in the CASA?
Well, for one, I actually have a CASA. She's great. She's amazing. She's in this call right now. Shout out to Karna. How are you? But yeah. Honestly, since I had a CASA, she's been great. I'm not an angel. I get angry sometimes. Sometimes I may be some hard to understand, because I have a very, through all I've been through, I have like the way I speak is a little sometimes it's easily misunderstood for coming off aggressive, but it's just me just talking. And she's very good at understanding what I mean, and if she doesn't understand, asking me. And it's she's been pretty supportive. If I ever had a problem, she's been somebody I could call. She's honestly, I have no complaint. She listen. I'm if you want to be a good CASA, go speak to Miss Cornett. She'll tell you what's up. That's my advice. Right? Don't speak to her. She gonna let you know what's up. What you got to do.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Tamaine, have you had a CASA? And if not, what would you say are good qualities and some bad qualities? And before I go to Tamaine, I do want to just resonate with Isaiah. Coronet has been a wonderful advocate. She's ready for whatever life throws at us, right? So shout out to Coronet. Tamaine, would you like to share some qualities that work and some that may not for a CASA?
I would say some qualities that work for anybody that will be working with CASA is to be authentic. Young people that have the kind of lived experience that many of us have, we understand when someone is not being authentic, and that's an immediate turnoff, and that's the quickest way to lose our respect. So if you're gonna be a CASA or any other type of organization that is working directly with young people as volunteers or even as work. I would say just be authentic, be consistent, and just don't act like you can truly relate to the experience if that's not true. And just put your best foot forward.
I think that was a great note to end on. Put your best foot forward, be authentic, be supporting. I just want to thank you all for sharing so much. I wanna close out. I want to thank the audience for coming. I want to thank you all for your wonderful questions, for your interest in CASA, for your support of our youth, and for your continued commitment to making the world a better place via doing this work. I want to allow some closing words from our executive director and the wonderful person who introduced me / hired me / invested so much time in the creation and the advancement of this organization. Carrie Moles.
Thanks, Haas. I just want to thank again the YLC members. You guys are amazing, and we're grateful to you for everything you do, but particularly I want to just acknowledge how generous it is of you to share so much of your personal selves and your personal experiences. I know that's not always easy, and we learn so much from you every time. So thank you for that. Thank you, Haas, for doing a beautiful job facilitating. And I want to also thank you, Michael Fitzgerald, for dropping a couple of great articles into the chat. We can send those out to people as part of our follow-up, because one of them includes a whole bunch about Jeanette, who in her advocacy work for the moratorium on aging out of care. So shout out to Jeanette for that. And I also want to say, for everyone who is joining us from another organization that does work with young people in foster care or in the child welfare system, the YLC is available. They are taking requests to come and speak with your staff, with your volunteers, with your boards, and particularly with young people who are in foster care about the process of transitioning from foster care. So shoot us an email. You can email Haas or the info@casa-nyc.org, or anyone here, just reply to one of the emails you get from us if you want to set that up and let us know. And thanks again, everybody, for joining. And I hope you will see you soon.
Thank you.